real discussion that you and I might have a different view on Hitler. I think he was a British spy. I think he gave the fucking Bank of England everything they fucking wanted, which was the destruction of Germany. The Nazis were Bolsheviks, and he had to play a little game like I'm fighting the bankers, you know. But he was installed in there in a country that was completely in lockdown after World War One. But there was a discussion that a big thing that the Nazis were doing were radium and like unlimited energy. What are your thoughts on that?
So this is a big one when you get into the technology. I mean, yeah, I've gone down the radium rabbit hole and everything related to uranium, uranium glass or depression glass. And this is an interesting one because this is from the 1929 Great Depression. They created all this different type of glassware and they imprinted uranium and radium and manganese and cobalt all into the glass that you would drink so that you can enhance your body. And the more I would go into the radium rabbit hole, like you just mentioned, the more I would see that that would connect with free energy. That would also connect with Henry T. Murray, which people should look into. Henry T. Murray was a guy who had a stone, which he believes was radium, but they also talk about geranium. And this stone was able to harness the atmospheric energy that is all around us. And he had a device in which he would hook up and he could get 50 kilowatts of energy out of the air. So the US Patent Office would not allow his patents to be pushed forward, and the REA, which was a communist organization, actually went against him so that they wouldn't be able to bring this technology forward. But when we go into Germany, Germany was big on radium too, because you need radium to have helium. In order to have helium for your blimps and to travel all around the realm, you need helium. And how you get helium, you convert radium to helium. So you have this part, which is people flying around on blimps, and they orchestrated the old Hindenburg situation to scare people into getting out of the
Of
blimps
course.
so they could be corralled into little small airplanes and
And
pay
now
for
they're
their
scaring
luggage.
people to that from flying. That's I've been saying this forever.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a long time because on the old Hindenburg blimps and these blimps, they had a library, they had a bar, they had a dance floor, they had an observatory, so you could just fly around and they were completely safe. There were no incidents that have ever occurred. They flew 1 million miles around the Earth in a blimp. So you could think like this goes back, this gets great. 1787, people are flying around in hot air balloons and flying ships in 1787. So people have been flying around in the air for a long period of time. They put them into scare for that one. But then radium on the other side, because now we're going back to it, those old fireplaces, there's pictures of Thomas Edison and all these other people sitting in front of these old fireplaces. And they had a little vial of radium sitting in the fireplace, and that's what gave them the energy for the whole house. And one little piece of radium is equivalent to 500,000 pounds of coal. That's the amount of energy that you get from one little piece of radium. So when you think about radium, that's why they told you to stay away from it. Then they gave you the whole story about the radium girls and these girls licking paintbrushes, and allegedly the paintbrushes
Oh
are.
my God. No, I remember that. Yeah, they're supposed to be like it's for the so you can see it in the dark. It's supposed to be glow in the dark paint and they used to lick it and they used to lick the tooth. Oh wow. So that's all fake?
So what it is they're licking paint, which is what caused the toxicity, and they're eating paint for 12 hours a day. And they were putting the radium on things so that it would glow in the dark.
Hmm.
And that's what it was. And there was a lady, there was actually multiple of them, who lived to 107 years old. So if the toxicity was as what we were told, nobody would live to 107 years old. If we fast forward to the 1940s, we have Galen Windsor, who's another fellow who eats plutonium. He just eats it. He's got videos of him eating plutonium. And he said the only reason they want you to stay away from it is because you can understand how much energy you could get. You can't put meters on things when you have radium and plutonium and all of these things accessible to the people. And Germany was doing a lot with that. And it was interesting because they were doing all types of things with the bells. They were going into technology. They did the 1,000 mile an hour airplane, which came out in, I think, 1944. So you look at all this and go, they are onto something because they're in the old world buildings. They're connected to that. and then that all got destroyed, and then now we're paying $1 billion for electricity for things we don't need.
It's so crazy. It's so how everything is done to have us live in low vibrations.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what's happening is, you're making a belief that, the climate is changing while they're spraying the skies. So the climate
It's
is
so
changing,
crazy, dude.
and then trying to tell you need to drive, electric vehicles, which are charged by diesel engines. So I don't know how that's supposed to work. And then you're supposed to buy solar panels, but then they spray the skies, so then you can't use solar panels. And then if you don't do that, you need wind, which those give you about the amount of electricity of a toaster. And then somehow all of this infrastructure will allegedly save humanity. And I started to realize that we already had the technology to save humanity. It's just going to get rolled out, with a different way. Like Elon Musk is going to give you an electric vehicle that gave 200 miles to the charge, when the electric vehicle of 1888 gave you 1,000 miles to the charge. So you've been just duped by, we got something new fancy with the computer and it's going to put a chip in your head and everything else. In reality, when you already had electric vehicles back in 1888.
Yeah, but why would you want it to go 1,000 miles when you need them charging their EV cars every what hour? Those things are charged. I went to Big Bear this week and there was a line for those EV Teslas out the door. I was like, why would you ever do that? It's a waste of like, I don't even know how long they were waiting there for. It was unreal.
Well, then they'll probably have an app that you'll install at your phone, and then you'll probably have Postmates delivered to you while you're sitting there charging. And then they'll probably start to set up little tents or housing units or something. I mean, that's how silly this is. It's like, why don't I just put gas in my car and just keep moving? Or why don't I put water or peanut oil in my engine and run it off of that? And all of those devices have all been suppressed or never accessible to the people.
Yeah.
People just will never understand the level of deceit. And when we have that guy from Chat GPT, OpenAI, he's linked to murdering a whistleblower. His sister, is suing him for molesting her. He's in a gay. I didn't. Do you guys know that guy was gay? And that came out
No, I
now.
didn't
He's
know that.
he's gay, which is fine. But he's adopting a boy, which is like every time they adopt a boy, he checks all the boxes, and so the first two things come out, which is he's connected to the death of a whistleblower, and he's alleged. Now the Me Too movement has us guessing whether what's true, what's not true, so we have to take that with a grain of salt. But he's getting sued by his sister for for molesting her as a kid, and then what happens to him? He gets fucking $500 billion from the government. I mean, it's like so all this stuff about, are they going to release the Epstein files? Are they going to, do we know everything? We
Yeah.
already know it all. All we want to know is, are we right or totally right? Which one is it? How right are we? That's all we want to know. Right?
I like that you say that, because with the whole thing they were saying of what's going to happen with the files, I said and thought, you know who did it. Like, we know who did it. Yeah, it's you. They've been doing it for a long period of time. So yeah, it's exactly what it is. Like, it's that. Yeah.
It's just like, and it just gets into something we've been talking about on the show forever. USAID is the mechanism in which the Federal Reserve funds everything you hate in this world. Everything you hate is funded by USAID, okay? To the tunes of billions and trillions. And to create this false reality, and this whole show is basically talking about this false reality that has been projected on God's reality, that has caused us to disconnect from Mother Earth, disconnect from God, and go with this demon network that just controls everything and promotes the worst of the worst, man. I got a friend of mine who got completely canceled with zero evidence, just three chicks came out and said something. They see their names because the women in Hollywood thought if they saw their names in the newspaper, that means their career's going well. They mistake fame and infamy. They don't know the difference of it. Not one shred of evidence of any of it. None of it makes any fucking sense, right? But then you had another guy with that a woman who, when she was 15, hooked up with him when he was almost 40 with receipts. He just hosted a roast on Netflix because it's a false reality. The false reality is promoted. Those who play the game are promoted. Those who do wicked are promoted. That's how it goes. And it's just, it's really sad that people can't wake up to any of it.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, when I think about it, though, there are a lot of people who have, though, through it. Because, like, even since me and you talked, when we talked about electroculture last time, I mean, that went nuts. You know, the electroculture went bananas. People produced 42-pound watermelons, you know, 25-pound cantaloupes. I mean, all kinds of crazy things that is just absolutely mind-blowing. And there is a shift, you know, because I think that, like you said, social unrest will lead to that shift no matter what is happening because people after a while are just fed up. It's kind of like when they start talking about the bird stuff and people are like, I got my own chickens. I'm not complying. And I think that personally, their equations of trying to figure us out with a lot of things, they can't figure out everything because they don't have any creativity, you know, these predators and everything else. And I don't think they expected, like, for example, me and you or other people to be chatting and having conversations and that amount of information to come out. And regardless, I see the truth will come out because it's just the truth. And like you said, they're just trying to invert everything. And once you know the truth, you can't go backwards. Like, I'm not going to go do something different. I'm not going to go wear a mask and stand on a sticker and throw the plastic in the ocean afterwards and everything else. Like, I'm not going to do any of those things. And I think that that's the part of, you know, all of this information coming out. It will only continue. And maybe it will take time, but I feel like it's happening. That's why I feel like they're trying to do the AI stuff like really, really quickly, you know, like AI vaccines and AI programs and all this, because they're trying to, it's kind of like, you know, consciousness is rising here and they're trying to like, okay, how do we stop that? Because it's gonna rise too quickly into the awareness of things. At least that's just my take on that.
I do think people are waking up. I do think people understand what's going on. I think there's an old guard that can't do it because their pineal gland is calcified and they just can't see it. And they're stuck in an old paradigm, right versus left, you know, that punk rock you know, is taking it to the man. Well, you know, it's like if you agree with the government, you agree with corporations, okay? You agree with the banking system, you're not punk rock. And to me, the new punk rock, I'm trying to make the t-shirt. The new punk rock is common sense. Common sense above everything you know. It's common sense. The pharmaceutical companies are lying to you. The government's trying to take your rights away. The predator class is attacking you. The bankers are trying to take your money. Common sense says you gotta see that above everything else, above party, above ideology, even above religion. I'm not talking spirituality, connection with God, but like when your religion is pushing certain things that doesn't seem right to you, you gotta go, what is that? And why are you doing that?
Well, and they used that in 2020, what you were saying, when they were using the different religions to push the agenda. You know, people would come into for prayer or to get together and they would say they needed to take vaccines. And it's like, God asked you to take a vaccine? Like that, that doesn't make any sense. You know, so yeah, people need to be aware of there are different ploys and that they can get taken advantage of. But at the same time, you know, you're a self-regenerating being that heals. And they're just going to keep you in this perpetual loop of fear if you choose to be in it. But I don't choose to be in it. I actually can't stand it at all. You know, 2020 is what really did it all for me. With all the goofy stuff, dancing around, stickers on the ground, and Trader Joe's trying to tell you which way you got to go in a store and whatever. It's just nonsense.
So dumb. And how many intelligent people weren't smart enough to realize how dumb that was?
Like, it's just goofy, you know? And I can't help but laugh about it now because it's all just charades. Like You're just being lied to. And I think that's what we need. You have to laugh off, you know, even what you do with comedy. You have to laugh off this goofy stuff because that is the counter probably to their nonsense. They don't want people laughing. They don't want people in a good mood. They don't
Yeah.
want people smiling or anything. They want them miserable, masked up, and sticking 87 boosters in their arm, you know? And that's not what we're meant to be. We didn't sign up for that. At least that's how I see it.
Well, man, Matt, it was an honor to talk to you again. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
So they can find us on cultivateelevate.com. We have all of our superfoods on there for healing the different meridians. You can also find me on Telegram. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, everything. I try to put myself everywhere because all those topics you're showing on the screen right now are dangerous, you know, according to the information that's being pushed onto us.
I mean, it is so crazy. Sometimes I go, I'm not even as bad as some people. And man, they just got a hard on for me.